Disney and Pixar's Lightyear has finally been released. Pixar hasn't been good the past decade. They've had a few good movies, but other than that, they've released mediocrity to absolute trash. Their prime was 1995, their very first movie, up until about 2010, with Toy Story 3. But after Cars 2 and Brave, they kind of hit a slump for the past 11 years. Like, they've had some good ones. I liked Monsters University. I liked Cars 3. I liked Finding Dory. But other than that, they just haven't produced that good. Oh, Coco was really good too. But other than that, their films have just been kind of meh or absolute garbage. I can't stand Brave or Cars 2. I don't really like Inside Out. Good Dinosaur was terrible. Onward was not that great. Soul wasn't that great. Last year's Luca wasn't that great. So as far as the 2020 years, they haven't been very good. And Turning Red, which came out a few months ago, was terrible. So, and their sequels, Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4 were both trash. So yeah, Pixar used to have like a magnificent track record. They have some of the greatest animated films in their catalog, but most of them come from their first 15 years. And their past 11, like I said, have been pretty hit and miss. Mostly miss. But I had my hopes high for this because it looked good. I liked Toy Story, obviously. I liked the first 3. 4 can suck it. But I liked the first 3. And an idea of the movie that the toy is based on within universe is actually a decent idea. But there's a problem with that right off the bat. Because the movie in which that toy is based on is Buzz Lightyear Star Command. The movie and the TV show. That movie even opens with the Toy Story characters watching the movie. So we already have a plot hole, and it's the entire movie as a whole is technically a plot hole within the Toy Story universe. That's not good. There was also signs of trouble when they replaced Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear. Now, Chris Evans doesn't do a bad job, don't get me wrong. He kind of sounds like Tim Allen. Like, if they had replaced Tim, like if Tim Allen had said no, and then they had to replace him with Chris Evans, then I probably could have let it go. But, it being Disney, that's obviously not what happened. They did their cancel bullshit again, and so Tim Allen was not invited back to play Buzz Lightyear. So, this movie already is on shaky ground. It's got their political fingerprints are all over this movie, and it's already creating a plot hole within the entire Toy Story universe. And not only that, there was a controversy around this when they deleted but then re-added a gay kiss in this after Florida's bill not letting people talk about sexuality in the classroom, which Democrats took to say is a don't say gay bill, because Democrats will believe fucking anything. Like, one person tries to spin the story in their own way, and Democrats try to keep the story up until people believe it. Well, most people don't. But Disney does, given it's a liberal company, so they added it back in. And I'm just going to say this much. Does it add anything to the story? Does it add anything to the character? Does it have any purpose in this movie whatsoever? Well, you got me there. But yeah, that's the only reason it's in here, just to push their political agenda, because they cut it out originally, but they added it back in so they could push their agenda, and it's the reason why this movie's been banned in 26 different countries, which is actually pretty funny. Because Disney's really trying to push their SJW bullshit in every movie, and I'm glad they're finally getting called out for it. Not just by other countries banning it, but by people as a whole. So, alright, enough with the controversy. How's the movie itself? It's okay, I guess. It was kind of disappointing, but it wasn't terrible. So, I don't know where to start. I guess I'll start with the voice acting. Like I said, Chris Evans is fine, but the lack of Tim Allen just pisses me off. Like, again, had it been any other circumstance of why he didn't come back, then it would have been fine. Then I would have gotten over it, but no, it's Disney's pulling their shit again, so I don't give it a pass. All the other actors are fine. Taika Waititi is in this. He tries, but his dialogue isn't very funny. That's a good way to describe this movie. The actors are trying, but most of their dialogue isn't very funny. There's one exception, and it's Socks. Socks is awesome. Socks is the greatest Pixar character since Doug from Up. He's adorable, he's hilarious, and he's incredibly intelligent. I love Socks. So, yeah, he's the one saving character of this movie. The rest of the characters are just cardboard cutouts. Like, the thing, like, I've seen the original Buzz Lightyear Star Command movie, and it's very similar to this movie. This movie, it's Buzz, he doesn't want to work with a team, but he has to work with a team, and they're all kind of screw-ups, and he has to, and they work together to fight Zurg and everything, but in the original, it worked because it was a Saturday morning cartoon, or was a pilot to a Saturday morning cartoon, so it had that kind of formula to it, and it was charming, it was fun. It was fun. Now, I'm not saying this movie isn't fun. For kids, it is very fun. But for an adult like me, it gets kind of tedious. And I started noticing, like, this is just going to be the character's personality throughout the entire movie, and it is. None of these characters really change, per se. They just slightly alter for the sake of the plot. And it doesn't always work. But like I said, the voice acting, they try, but most of their dialogue isn't funny. Like, Watiti couldn't make me laugh, which is a crime, considering he's awesome as Korg in the Thor movies, and he made the one-dimensional villain and Free Guy at least semi-watchable, like, at least semi-tolerable. Kiki Palmer, she's fine, I guess. Not much to her character. Same thing with the old lady. But again, Socks is awesome, and you can't take that away from me. And, okay, so to talk about the villain, I have to go into spoilers here. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. Now, the way the villain is done is okay, at least. I do want to point out there's a lot of forced references to the Toy Story movies, like, in terms of dialogue, and it's a bit annoying. Like, I get why, because the toy is based on the movie, so there's, of course, lines, but it's not even like the ones he pushes on the button. Like, he never says the full "to infinity and beyond." He says half of it every single time, which half it depends on the scene, but that doesn't matter. So, that's already an issue in and of itself. But the villain isn't Buzz's father, thank God, like it was in Toy Story 2. Zurg is Buzz. Because this movie deals a lot with time travel. And no matter which kind of time travel they're using, both times it creates a giant plot hole. Now, if they're going off the time travel where everything's on one line, like you go back in time, it changes the past, and that change affects the future, like in Back to the Future or The Flash, per se. But that doesn't work, considering the second he goes back and keeps himself from getting arrested after his flight, he should no longer exist. The Zurg Buzz should no longer exist. But if they're doing the way, say, the Marvel movies do it, where it creates an alternate timeline, then that also creates another big plot hole. Because his plan, which isn't technically a bad plan, because even Buzz starts to go along with it a bit, is he wants to go back and prevent himself from screwing up the original mission and stranding everybody on that planet. It's a decent enough idea, but it falls apart if this is the kind of time travel you're using, where if he goes back and stops him from doing the mission, it'll just create another branch in the timeline, and his past will still have happened. So no matter which kind of time travel they're using, there's a giant plot hole in there. And I figured this out just, like, a few hours after watching the movie. I'm like, I know there's something wrong with this time travel, and I finally figured it out, and that's exactly what it was. No matter what kind of time travel they use, there's a huge plot hole in the middle of this movie. The animation is stellar. Like, Pixar keeps upping their game with the animation, and this is this is close to photorealistic. It looks fantastic. But again, they have hundreds of millions of dollars to burn into this movie, so that's not exactly... It's not exactly a high bar to clear. When it's something like Disney and say, oh, it looks good, it better look good. And so if it looks bad, that's when it's time to call it out. But it shouldn't be like, oh, it looks great. It's like, it should look good if it's got this much money behind it. There's gotta be something else to talk about. The action sequences are fine. There's nothing much to them. Like I said, there are a lot of forced references in the dialogue, and they get old quick. And the music's fine. Like, there's just not much to talk about with this movie. I wish there was. There's really not. Jesus Christ. The plot itself is relatively thin. Like, he screws up a mission, gets everyone stranded, and he tries to get them home. That's it. That's the plot. And then he time travels a good 60 years into the future, like in total, of all of his time travel trips. And then he has to help take down Zurg, who is himself in this one. So, like, on paper, this plot should be pretty cool. But again, with all the time travel it does and creating a bunch of plot holes, it falls apart. Because the plot no longer makes sense and is therefore unengaging. There's a lot of, like, coincidences that get people out of trouble, one of the major things about film is that coincidences that get people into trouble are good. Coincidences that get them out is cheating. And one of the things I can think of, even though I don't mind the movies, I like the movies as a whole, is Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace. He does a lot of stupid shit, but managed to get out by sheer dumb luck. Like, that's cheating. You get them into trouble, it's good. Get them out is cheating. There are several coincidences that just happen to be exactly what the characters need to do. And that feels like cheating, and it's just not that. It kind of just tears the movie apart. But, yeah, again, this movie, there's just nothing to talk about. Like, I don't know what else to talk about. Like, Turning Red, I was angry at. It was terrible. It was so bad. It was cringy. This one, there's nothing, like, absolutely terrible apart from Disney's forced agenda that they keep shoving in, which was also in Turning Red, which pissed me off. But this one is just kind of a blank slate, I guess. It's like, it's gonna be forgotten about relatively quickly. Not just me, but other people as well. I've been seeing that most of the reviews, people who like it don't love it. There are people that hate it from what I've seen, but I don't think I've seen a single person that's absolutely loved this movie. I've seen people that like it, but don't love it. And I'm not even sure I totally like this movie. It's watchable. Like, that's what I can say. It's not terrible, but it should have been way better. It really should have been. So, that's all. I'm going to wrap it up here for Lightyear. I'm going to give it a C+. That feels high. That feels a little too high for it, but I'm trying to be... I'm not gonna be generous. I'm giving it a C. Dead in the middle. So, thank you so much for watching. What did you guys think of Lightyear? I know a lot of people have seen it, even though it's struggling to maintain first place over Jurassic World, which I'm going to see probably tonight or tomorrow or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I guess we'll see when I get there. See if Jurassic World's better than this movie. So, I'll see y'all then.